Avoir.
You made crushed ice? You bought ice.
No, out of the refrigerator upstairs.
Oh, nice.
All right, we are rolling. Welcome to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. I am your host, Leah Lodato, joined by my partner, Lori Lodato. And we are going to talk today about a bunch of random stuff that I don't even know what it is because Laurie's going to bring it to the table. But before we get started, I wanted to say thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for those that sponsor the podcast. You can see those sponsors in the podcast description. I won't ramble through my Better Vet speech, but you can check out the promo code in the podcast description. This is episode number 51. And I just wanted to say thank you if you're new to listening to the podcast. And as a brief overview of our situation, we are dog trainers. We train dogs in the Boston area, and we do a lot of one-on-one classes. We have group classes that we run for folks who are part of our training program. And we also offer like boutique services if you need something specific. But we train dogs. I walk dogs Monday through Friday. I walk dogs that I also train in the Boston area. I'm a little bit north and west of Boston. But yeah, we're dog people, and we have 3 dogs of our own. We have Buddha, who is a 4-year-old Rottweiler, Ruben, who is a 4-year-old small mixed breed dog, and newly added to our stable, we have little Miss Rhonda, who is an 11-week-old black English lab. So we are in the throes of raising a puppy right now, which is a lot of fun. But we reference our dogs quite a bit in the podcast. So I figured if you are new to the podcast, it might be helpful for you to know that information because we talk about them a lot. So if you like what you hear, please rate and review the podcast. It helps more people hear the podcast. And I am hoping to have other people on the podcast. I think that Laurie and I do a pretty good job of these little episodes, though. And you folks have told us that you like to hear them. So here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are releasing another Laurie and Leah episode. So I don't know what Laurie has written down on that piece of paper over there, so it's going to be a little ad lib for this episode, but let's dig into it. What do you want to talk about today, Laurie?
Well, first, I have a cold. I don't have the COVID.
It doesn't matter. They can't catch it just from listening to the podcast.
But I sound stuffy.
You sound actually okay.
I feel like shiitake.
Yeah, you do feel like shiitake, but you look great.
Thanks. You look fabulous, too.
Thank you.
It's probably the Tequila Talkin.
I think it is. We got a very nice bottle of tequila from a customer for Laurie's birthday, which was last month.
From my buddy Mark.
And he came by and dropped off yesterday, so I made some margarita. And it like barely even tastes like alcohol. It's so smooth.
Which is a problem for podcasting.
But I only made 1 drink each, and they are very well balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you make homemade drinks, you go crazy, and it's not very even Steven with the mixer versus the...
Well, you used to be a bartender.
I did used to be a bartender, so...
So you know what you're doing. I have to
I
measure
do,
stuff.
actually.
You don't measure stuff.
I don't
you just
measure
eye
it.
it.
I do.
Pour it in.
Yeah. Well, when you make
Laurie's cranky.
hundreds
Pour
of
more.
margaritas, you can kind of eyeball it. But margaritas are one of those drinks where if the ratio is not correct or you get like really sour lime, it can be...
Shiitake.
It cannot be a good drink.
It's all about the shrooms.
It's all about the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what do we got?
Well, I was just writing things down because
noticed.
somebody said, hey, you haven't done a podcast in a while. And then things that struck me, I just wrote down on a piece of paper.
Striking.
So I was thinking about a lot of things. I was thinking about Buddhist therapy dog visits and how I've learned to manage dogs around children better. From just learning how to walk to middle school. And how I feel about all that. And then I was thinking about all the emails we get where people don't use their dog's name.
Yeah, that is a huge pet peeve of yours, actually.
Well, no, it's funny because I know that if they don't use their dog's name,
They are livid at
they
that
hate
thing.
them more. So I'm like, oh, how bad is the dog's behavior? Did they give me the name? Oh, yeah, they still love him. If they didn't give me the name, I think that dog's tearing shit up in the house. And it's eating the family. Woo woo. Which we can relate to because, we have a puppy. And she's...
Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very strong-willed. She's an independent gal. Anywho, so I was thinking about puppies and therapy dog work and how people hate their dogs, but then they like them after they train them. And oh my God, I can totally tell how they refer to their dog in the email. They're spirited. It's like you have to read between the lines. Spirited means, oh my God, it's running amok in the house. They're like, bathroom training was going well. And then we were like, you don't need the crate anymore. And then the dog's just peeing all over the house. So guess what, guys? Keep him in the crate. Mm-hmm. If Rhonda wasn't in the crate, I would be stabbing myself in the eye.
Well, she would be dead.
That chick gets in everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's on a line. If she wasn't on a line, I mean, right in front of my face, she friggin' pulled a plug out of a wall. I'm OCD.
Yep.
I glanced to the person next to me, and that chick grabbed it right by the, not even the cord, the end.
Yeah,
yanked it right out of the wall.
I think we could do a whole podcast episode on raising Rhonda, and we probably will at some point, just to give people an idea of what we're going through. If you've had a puppy before, you get it for the most part. But we haven't had a puppy for 4 years, and I think that A, I'm a little out of practice, and B, you have your template of the way that you do things, and then the puppy might fall a little bit out of that template. For example, with Ruben, we got him at 12 weeks. He never got up during the night. Rhonda is 11 weeks today, and she gets up 3 to 4 times a night. And she's productive, so she's going to the bathroom. Goes. Yeah, and we're cutting off her food and water at the appropriate time. We're doing all the stuff
stupid trainers say to do.
Yep, but she just is really productive, and
I gotta go.
Yeah, there was a couple of days last week where she only got up once or twice, and then
gave us hope.
Yeah, and then this week it's been we're team no sleep over here. I don't even actually know how people do it by themselves. I know how they do it, but there's doing it and then there's doing it right. Like I could just let her go in the crate, which I'm sure happens to some people sometimes, but I would not want to do that ever. So it's tough because, we're both busy and we work outside on our feet. We have physically demanding jobs, and sleep is a huge part of productivity and being able to do our jobs appropriately. And being tired all day is, not the best situation ever. But the thing about puppies is that they do grow rather quickly. So I'm hoping by 12, 13 weeks we'll be in a different situation with the potty training in the evening.
You actually talked about something I want to talk about. One of my customers, she has a family, and she had said to me, well, I'm basically raising this dog by myself. So that's really hard, guys. Also, if you have a roommate and you decide you want to get a dog, your roommate has to want the dog too, because they're stuck with it. Your roommate's not going to come home when you're not there. The puppy's going to be screaming, and your roommate's not going to take the dog out. If it's a nice person, they're going to take the dog out. So if you're in a situation where you're bringing the dog into an environment where you have a roommate, the roommate really has to want the dog. Or if you realize as the mom or whoever of the house, if you're the one who wants the dog, you have to accept the fact that you might not have help in the process of raising her. So there were 2 instances where I went to somebody's house and they said, oh, the kids want to be there. Can they be there? So my answer to this question as a trainer is anybody who wants to train the dog and wants to be there is more than welcome to come, because I'm not going to watch your kid's eyes glaze over during a training session. And I got to tell you, my training sessions aren't boring. As a matter of fact, most of the time, the kids are boring. They just want to stare at their phone. They don't want to run around or play with the dog or act a fool, because when I'm training, we're racing around the yard, having the puppy chase us, working on recalls. So if your kid says that they want to train the dog and then they don't go to the class, guess what, guys? I'm sorry. Your kid doesn't care.
Yeah.
And usually it's always one spouse showing up over the other. I'd say right now we have
we're 50-50 split.
Yeah, I would say that.
Men and women, or
as Catherine says, we have manlers. We have a lot of guys who are rising to the occasion and being pretty involved guys, like with the dogs. And that's kind of a switch, because before it was always we were seeing the woman do it. And all of my private classes, they've been giving me a lot of hope lately, because I've seen huge progress with the dogs. I've seen them do the homework, and then they come to class and they're ready to show off. So just make sure if you get a dog that, you know, the person that you're with is either into it or you're willing to take on that new project by yourself. Because I always make a joke and I say, I didn't want another puppy, but Leah did, so we got a puppy. But I love her. I mean, she's fun. She likes to train. She's confident in the sense that, you know, she walked into the yard, went right up those stairs. I brought her to the library. I brought her to the principal's office in the school that Buddha does therapy work. And she's really just showed up. She's appropriately hesitant. Like, she had gone up a flight of stairs and she saw another flight, and I saw her face just be like, oh really? Shit, or come on, another. So she's cool and I love hanging out with her, but you know, I had to sign on. So you have to be a supportive partner and, you know, and do it. Because if I wanted a puppy, I know Leah would rise to the occasion and do that. But
yeah, and
here we are with 3 dogs. It makes a difference, guys.
I just can't imagine doing it again by myself. And I think a big thing behind that is that I'm not home during the day. So I know that, okay, Laurie is taking care of Rhonda during the day. And I think if you have a real job where you have to go in to work, I just don't actually know how people that are single do that. Because even with a dog walker coming, I mean, when you have a puppy, you're constantly letting them in and out of the crate all day long. It's not like 2 times in an 8-hour stretch they're going to be okay. They need to go to the bathroom more than that. Yeah,
and then when they're puppies, we feel a pressure to bring them to one social place a day, one neighborhood walk a day, and we train them for their food. So, you know, these are things running through our head, and every time I work with her, every time I see her or interact with her, it shocks me that people don't crate the dog. Oh my God. Like, how can you watch this puppy 24/7 and still like it? It's almost impossible. Or they say the puppy's crying, so I brought him into the bed with me. And I'm like, how? Because she's a piranha. Like, even if you pick her up, I mean, and never mind it. God, what if she was another breed? I mean, she's like ready and raring to go.
She's actually not that bad as far as the nipping goes.
If she's passed out, she's fabulous.
Yeah.
If she's got some chutzpah in her, she needs to have a toy or something in her mouth at all times, which we provide before she starts biting us. So, like, guys, I'm telling you, if you get a dog, you either need backup or you need to say, no, I'm going to be the only like owner of the dog, or like, unless you have a dog who has some sort of reactivity and that requires more training than you imagined. If it's causing a problem in your household or your marriage, which I've seen like 2 to 3 times in the last 2 months, you have to really consider that, like where it's an issue with your kids. Like, we're seeing a lot of families getting these dogs and there's a lack of supervision around the children, or the parents are already stressed out. Think about those things before you go and get the dog, and just know that if you don't know the history of the dog or you don't get them younger, you may be dealing with some behaviors you didn't expect, and you really need the support of your spouse.
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
You go, oh shit, I can't do this.
I can't imagine again doing it by myself unless I worked at home. I had a few single guys actually that had labs last year in 2020 that got pandemic puppies, and they did a great job because they were doing their insurance finance job from home, and they had the dog, and it was easy for them to go outside and take breaks throughout the day, and it really worked out. But if you're outside the house and you're a single person, I'm hard pressed to find a way that you can make it work to have a puppy outside of hiring somebody to come to your house multiple times a day to help out with the puppy. So just know that before you get a puppy. And the nice thing about a puppy versus like a human child is the infancy stage lasts far less time. So they're able to be in a crate for a little bit longer or hold it for a little bit longer and have more focused playtime rather than, I'm sorry, in comparison to an actual child who needs adult supervision for a lot longer in order to be safe. So that's kind of cool. But in the beginning, an 8-week-old puppy, we got Buddha when he was like 7 weeks. It's just a lot. And having the support of your family is clutch. I don't remember Buddha waking up as much as Rhonda does during that. He definitely didn't.
He just screamed and hated
Yeah,
his crate.
he did, but he didn't.
Ruben screamed.
And Rhonda doesn't mind the crate. She like kennels up on her own. She does so many things on her own for such a young puppy that it almost scares me. Today, I brought her to Pets Plus in Tewksbury, and then we went to Auntie's afterwards, and she jumped into the element. She jumped into my car, 11 weeks old. And I would prefer that she didn't, actually, because I don't want her to get hurt.
Her little joints.
Yeah, I definitely don't want her jumping out of it, for sure. But I just opened the door and she just blew right in, and I couldn't believe it. I was totally shocked. And
I feel like she always looks at us and goes, I don't need your help.
yeah.
I don't need you for this.
Yeah, she's very independent. I put up on my personal Facebook page a couple weeks ago. I was working with her, and she's gotten a lot better over the past few weeks. But when we first got her, her food drive was really terrible. And like she was literally spitting food out of her mouth, like was more interested in everything else in the environment.
But now she's doing great. She's walking great on leash and loves her neighborhood walks.
Yeah, and she follows for food, and she does
good side sits, good luring.
And I would say for Rhonda versus Buddha and Ruben, I'm definitely feeding her more inside of her bowl than the two of them, which I think we train her a lot, but just to get all the food in. And I also like a little bit of a softer, higher value treat when we're outside, just so she doesn't have to kind of chomp through the food if we're socializing or on a neighborhood walk. So I'll bring something a little bit easier to get through than kibble. And also, when she came to us, she got a UTI right off the bat. And I was experimenting with using the food that our other dogs eat and mixing that with her kibble that she came with that the breeder recommended. And the breeder had very specific feeding instructions. She wanted her to have yogurt 2 times a day and eat a specific type of food.
Leah makes her own homemade yogurt now, and she's on a sourdough kick. This is what Leah's doing now that she's home with the puppy more.
Yeah, making stuff. So
it's good for low carb diets. Just like brewing up loaves of sourdough. And I mixed Nutella in this one. I'm like, that's great, honey. I hope you... I'm just getting rounder by the minute.
I've given it all away, so I haven't kept it in the
Some
house.
of it. Then I was taking it as an insult. I was like, well, every time you make a loaf, you just give it away.
I made some for us, though, but it didn't have chocolate in it.
Yeah, we
just regular old
I like a good piece of sourdough. Thank you, Lori Gallo.
Delish.
That's right.
Yes,
I said
thank
your
you.
whole name.
Our friend Lori, who is a dog person as well. She's a shepherd lady. She makes her own sourdough, and she sent me the starter in the mail, and I started that growing, and it has been just going like crazy.
Growing bacteria. We all know how much I love bacteria.
Yes. Anyway, beautiful. Getting back to Rhonda.
Sorry.
Breeder said mix yogurt with the food. So I feed her twice a day in a bowl with any residual kibble I have that's left over from training, and she gets her yogurt, which she very much enjoys. So doing some impulse control around her food, which is important because she is now very food driven, like a normal lab would be. So I'm able to do a little bit of kind of, just waiting and calming down before eating. And she's picked up quite quickly on that. I would say in general, I just love having a puppy. I really do. It's fun. Aside from waking up every night, it's kind of fun. And they're so freaking cute. And her little lips and her jowls and her she's just so cute. Yeah. So
that might be the only thing helping at this point.
Yeah, because the no sleep thing it's serious. Anyway, what else you got on that piece of paper, Lori?
I guess recall and guest greetings in the home could be under the title of watching your dog fuck up all the time and not doing anything. Like looking at the dog and thinking, that dog is going to jump on the counter. See? I told you. It jumped on the counter. Or like, my dog is really into some rabbit poop out on the lawn. He does not care about me. I will now use this opportunity to call his name in a very dull manner from 20 feet away with my underwear on from my deck. So, guys, if you know your dog is not going to respond for a recall, or if you know your dog is going to light up when the delivery man comes to the door, if you can get ahead of these things, just keep a leash on your dog in the beginning, whether it's a puppy or an adopted dog. If you know they're going to do something, give them another behavior. Give them another choice. And if they don't have so say your dog counter surfs. They bonused out on the counter. I know little dogs too that will jump on the sofa, jump on the arm of the sofa, and then scan the side tables. Don't leave your dog in the room when you go into the kitchen, say, and put some dishes in the sink. If you eat on your sofa and you're watching TV and you should be able to do that. Yes, live your life. But you also have to recognize if you have a dog that you don't want to train in the moment, put them in their crate or have them out of their crate working on something like staying on their bed or working on a down, having them chew a toy. And then when you have to leave the room, say, all done. Okay, let's go to the kitchen together because I know that you're going to go on that damn sofa. And if they follow you, they can get something for it. They can get a treat. So this dog doesn't think every time this chick leaves, because you're bonusing out. What's happening is that people are constantly, they're jackpotting bad behavior. They're not jackpotting good behavior because the dog keeps getting away with it. So the dog will continue to do it. You're doing the opposite. So people feed for good behavior. Feed. When the behavior is 10 out of 10, if you ask a dog to sit and 10 times he sits fast and in a hurry, we can assume the behavior is learned. We take the clicker away and we start saying the word all done, and we reward the best performances. This is why people get on clicker trainers and say they're shitty. My argument with the clicker is that you constantly use food throughout the dog's life. It's not. It's because you're not feeding the food correctly. So why are we all getting a bad rap? You have to slot machine the food so the dog starts looking at you thinking, I never know what this chick is going to give me. So one customer said to me, you want to know what my dog's really good at, Lori? I have a bowl of food every night, and I make my dog sit. And when I go to put that bowl of food down, they hold that sit. I'm like, all right, Jesus. Okay. Well, why is the dog sitting, and why are they so good at it? 1, you give a shit. Every night, your routine is you grab a whole bowl of food, which is a jackpot. Jackpot, not just one kibble or a treat. We're getting snacks. We're getting a bowl of pasta here. Well, I mean, that's what it would be for me. But you're getting a bowl of kibble. And every night, you made sure that dog sat, and when he got up, you walked him back to the spot he was in and you waited for him to sit again. And every day that dog learned, I have to sit to get my bowl of food. Oh my God. If people put as much effort into that stupid sit and wait for your bowl to be laid on the ground, your obedience would be stunning. Your sits and your downs, because every time your dog sat and he got up, you would calmly bring him back to the spot and he would learn that he would have to wait for a reward rather than you saying sit, forgetting about the fact that you spoke to your dog, and then you walk away. And then you say, my dog didn't hold the sit. Well, you suck because you walked away and you weren't there to finish the job. Finish the job. Jackpot the food. Oh my God.
Well, the other
drives me crazy.
A little bit of icing on that statement, that scenario, is that you can use the bowl of food for other things rather than sit too. Like if that's the only training that you're going to do with your dog every day, like if that's the only way that your dog worked for their food, but you did that 2 times every day, you'd actually have a pretty dope dog that knew a bunch of stuff because they're eating 2 times a day. I mean, I can think of times where, I do a lot of stuff with Ruben. We play Frisbee. We go on hikes. He helps me out in class. Like there might be weeks that go by that I don't do any focus training with him. But if I did something with his food every single day, his food bowl, maybe I'd be more, I'd be ahead of where I am now. I don't know. But you can ask them to lay down. You can send them away from you. You can use it for healing. There's countless things that you could do with that bowl of food. So if that's the only time that you're going to be doing your training is with that bowl of food, then do something other than sitting and waiting. And you'll also kind of see the gaps. Like, oh, maybe my dog needs to know more behaviors. Maybe they need to know how to do a down. Maybe they need to know how to do a side sit. Maybe it would be nice if they ran to place when I call place and then release them and they could come to get their food. If that's the only training you're going to do other behaviors besides sitting and waiting. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, in the place command? Oh, trainers will go over it I remember going to a seminar, again, like I'd rather pluck out nose hairs. They went over for 1 hour how to keep the dog on the bed. Do you know how you keep the dog on the bed? You walk them back every time they get up. I've never seen it fail. If you get up, you put them back. Hey, hook a brother up every once in a while. Give him a piece of food for sitting fat, dumb, and happy on his bed. But don't do it right after he gets up. Otherwise, your dog's going to think, this chick's feeding me every time I get up. I'm going to have to get up to activate her. No, you got to pay attention. Like while you're working in the kitchen or while you're working on, have the dog right next to you at your desk while you're, paying bills or doing emails, whatever. Feed them for laying there fat, dumb, and happy. And then every day you can lengthen the amount of time. Practice when they're tired. The whole idea is you have to outlast the dog. If he gets up, you put him back. That's it, guys. You put him back. And you don't do it like an asshole. You just pick up his leash, because I don't like to grab dogs' collars because I don't like to make a dog collar shy. That's why I have a leash on them. Pick up the end of the leash, because then people will grab the leash close to the collar.
Right.
And calmly walk them back. Wait for many moments of stillness and then feed that. Yes, you can correct the shit out of a dog to make them do something. But if you can do it the nice way, why don't you?
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
If you are consistent, guys, you will see such results from your dogs. That place command drives me batty.
Well, you see dogs that are on the place command and they look like they want to kill themselves.
Right. Or
like,
right, because they're worried to get up.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like a very popular thing to do is use like, the dog goes to step off. It's like e-collar pressure. Like,
hey, listen,
a lot of
we use
pressure.
e-collars too.
Yeah, like a lot of pressure. And I find that and I'm going to steal this from Brian Agnew, who is on Consider the Dog. I have a membership to Consider the Dog, which is a great little resource for dog trainers and owners. But he calls it souring the place. So when you drag them onto the place, use a lot of pressure to get them to place, and then you pull the dog to use a lot of pressure to get them to stay, and there's no choices that the dog's making, it can actually sour the entire experience. So the dog sees the place board and they're like, yeah, no thanks. That thing just causes me some problems. So that's another. And if you have a really confident dog, maybe you'll never deal with that. But if you have a skittish rescue dog, yeah, you can't do that. If I tried to do that with my dog, he'd be like, I'm never going over there again. I am
never going back to that place.
Yeah.
Ever.
And whereas if I did it with Rhonda, she'd probably be like, yeah, so what?
Yeah. Bite me.
Exactly.
There's such a fine line with positive dog training and adding pressure. And you really have to know your dog or know the dog before you add pressure.
But all I'm saying in terms of the place command, well, firstly, we're not one to put a dog on a place board or on your bed for hours at a time. I think that it's cool if they know how to do it. But I don't use it as a substitute for the crate. I use it as a way to provide a spot where when I'm doing something that is taking my focus and I want my dog to relax, for example, if I'm at a family member's house and I have my dog with me, or I'm here and we are eating dinner with
or preparing food.
It's nice, but maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. That's it. It's not like they're sitting there for hours at a time. And once again, they get up. Hey, man, go back over there. It's not like, no, freaking out because the dog got up off of place, like Laurie said. If the dog gets up 10 times, you bring the dog back 11 times. And it's not in
I
a
said
way.
20.
And it's not in a way for us that puts a lot of pressure on the dog. But once again, that follow through is super important. So if the dog gets up and you didn't say all done and you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and go, oh, well, I missed it. Like maybe you did miss it. Maybe it's going to make not a darn bit of difference if you bring them back over and you waited too long, the dog's not going to associate it. But at least for you as a handler, you can get that experience where you made a mistake and then you caught yourself making the mistake and you fixed it right away. Because how many times do we go through life, we're like, oh, rats, didn't do it, moving on. It's like, no. All rats, I didn't do it. I'm going to follow through, learn from that, not do it again. Maybe you are going to do it again. I'm the queen of messing up all the time, making the same mistake a few times before it hits me. It's just me, I don't know why. Some things I'm like super, super good at when it comes to dogs and handling. Others I need to make the same mistake like 2 or 3 times before I fix it. But be consistent. It's all about you. Guys, it's all about you. I have a long-standing date every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. with a reactive Rottweiler. Some of my favorite clients.
These guys are awesome.
Some of my favorite clients. Okay? The only thing I'm doing is coaching the owner on how to handle the dog. It has nothing to do with this dog. This dog freaking hates other dogs. Like, you think I'm going to be able to make this dog like other dogs? Like, no, but I need to coach the owner and teach him like how to handle the leash, how to make space, how to let the dog know like, nah, man, like that wasn't cool. How to teach the guy how to reward the dog for what he does do well. And it's a progress every time we meet. Did it get better this week? Yes. Okay, then we're going to keep going. But it has nothing to do with the dog because that dog's never going to love dogs. Like, let's face it. The dog, if it was in somebody else's hands, is going to be leash reactive, but it's just me helping this dude handle his dog. And like, wow, we've made some serious progress. Let me tell you, like, especially last time we got together. But, is there a real behavioral shift and change happening in the dog? Yes, very, very slowly. But the majority, the 90% of it is the owner just like following through and me just being like, dude, why'd you just do that? He's like, and this guy's like 70 years old. It's like,
yeah, but he's cool.
He's real cool. I mean,
old school.
One of the coolest couples I get to work with, and they rescue Rottweilers and Saint Bernards, which is
their jam.
That's their jam. They have one of each in their home right now, and it's a lot, especially for people that are getting on in years, and having a big dog. I mean, this Rottweiler is 107 pounds. It's like huge. He's massive. Like Buddha is like 95 pounds. He weighs 10 pounds, over 10 pounds more than him. And, but anyway, all that to say is it's just the consistency coming from the owner down the leash to the dog.
Yeah. And if you're trying, you're doing all right, guys. If you're trying, you're doing all right. But if you don't do shit all week and then you come to class, it shows. And we all know, like, even if you try, you're doing better than not. Like, if you're working on the place command and keeping the leash on the dog, what'll happen is the dog starts to do better and people start to relax. No, you can't. You have to go, like, I always compare it to weightlifting. Like, if you do 8 reps and it hurts, do 3 more. Finish it off. Like, bust out those other few reps. At 6 months old, when your dog is bathroom trained, your intact male little puppy that you haven't neutered, you got to go longer. You have to stop thinking
Absolutely.
The job is never done. You have to keep going. Every time you interact with that dog, he's learning. So just keep trying. Keep in mind what you're rewarding. A lot of dogs will come in here and they're older. The parent will say sit, and like, I'm famous for this. The dog will give a gut punch, a crotch hit, then sit and look at you and say, give me the food. No, screw you, dog. I'm not gonna, like, yeah, I'll put out. I get it. Positive dog training. All they do is feed, whatever. I hate you. The thing is that no, we don't. You feed for right behaviors. Step on the leash, wait for the dog to sit, and click and feed the sit. Not the crotch hit, the gut punch, and then the sit. Otherwise, guess what you're going to get? What you click is what you get. So if you have to, like, put the dog in his crate and give him a timeout and bring him out again, the crate isn't a way to avoid behaviors. You must take the dog out of the crate so that you can address the issue. So, I mean, keep the dog on a line. Stop watching him jump on the damn counter. Bring him with you. Stop watching the dog jump on the sofa. Or when he bites your hand, make sure that that doesn't lead to a play session because you were so boring and you were ignoring the dog because you weren't ready to work with them that when the dog finally bit you, you go, oh shit, I should play with the dog. Or the dog jumps up on you and you think, oh, he's bored. Get the dog tired, then go relax. Or if you don't have the patience to work with the dog, put him in the crate and then take him out when you're ready. That's okay. When you're training in general, what you reward, when you're walking with the dog, what are you rewarding? Do you reward the dog when he stops and sits behind you? No. Otherwise, you're going to get a dog who's constantly sitting on the walk. Focus on one thing at a time. I am working on walking. I will feed the dog on the left side of my body, right at my left leg for moving nicely by my side. If it's a puppy, they can't work on a million things at one time. Work on your sits separately, your walking separately, and your downs. Then start to combine them when the dog is 10 out of 10 on a certain behavior. Loose leash walking will constantly be an effort on your part. It's the longest thing it takes for a dog to get because as they get older, they explore more. And your dog isn't healing if you're muscling them into place on the left side. And yes, sometimes we use corrective collars, like we use prong collars with walking. Sometimes it's a solution for a family long term, and sometimes people fade the prong out. The people who fade the prong out are the ones who compete with their dogs or want to be a therapy dog and they're not allowed to use the collar. And it takes a lot of diligence. I can look at a person and know whether they're going to get a loose leash walking dog. I know who has the patience to keep doing it because every time you hold that leash, your dog is learning. So if sometimes they're allowed to pull and other times they're not, they're not going to get it fast enough. And sometimes people give commands to the dog when you don't really care what they're doing. Say you're just standing there and you're talking to somebody and your dog is fine. They're just standing there with you. No, the owner keeps saying, sit, lie down, and the dog will do it, but then they get up and the owner hasn't said all done or it's okay. Just shut up. Sometimes you don't have to talk to the dog. Just let him be there. If he's not being a nuisance, why use a command? Why ask the dog to sit before you put the collar on? If he's not clawing at your face, just put the collar on.
Right.
Sit. And then they try to put the leash on, and then we get the machine gun command. Sit. Down. Like, it's okay not to talk to your dog. And then when you finally do, you actually mean it.
Right. I know this more than most because Ruben is nervous, so I have to take it when he is relaxed and just not talk to him. Just do what I need to do, move, use spatial pressure, all of those things. Like you don't, like Laurie was saying, you don't have to ask for a behavior if your dog is just chilling. If they're just chilling, isn't that what you want them to do? Don't you want a relaxed dog? I say this in group classes all the time too, because inadvertently what ends up happening is we have a big group and sometimes we have to stop and explain something. We have a whole gamut of dogs in group class. Really stable dogs, reactive dogs, anxious dogs. If you know your dog isn't going to hold the behavior because they don't have the capacity to do that, release them before they get up and stand there with them. If they are relaxed body posture, offering you a little bit of engagement, not fixating on any person or other dog in the room, you're doing a good job. Like, that's what you want to reward. Or you can simply work on look. You don't have to ask them for a stationary behavior because it takes a really stable temperament to hold that behavior for any length of time in a really stimulating environment. Like, I know Ruben isn't going to hold a sit for longer than whenever. And sometimes he does, and I know when he can too. And so I don't release him or allow him to get up. But if you know your dog isn't going to hold it, but you know that when they are on that leash, if they were just standing or were able to sniff a little bit, maybe to relieve a little bit of that pressure, or they need to scratch because they need to offer that behavior just
like
to like
displacement
chill as a
behavior.
displacement behavior because they're just really like not comfortable. Let them do that as long as they're not straining at the end of the leash, fixating on another dog, barking incessantly. Like these are things that you got to think about when you're with your dog. If you stop on the street, you're talking to your friend, and I see this happen constantly, and your dog is like ground surfing, the leash is tight, and the mom is like wobbling from side to side because their dog is totally freaking out of control, and they're trying to have a conversation with their friend. That is bad. Like that is bad behavior. Like you should not be talking to that person if you give 2 cents about your dog.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are dogs that do that, you know, like I've seen
They need more practice.
Yeah, I've seen people like trying to have a conversation and their dog is like barking at traffic going by. And it's like, nah. Like, whereas if I stop with Ruben, have a conversation with somebody, he's going to stand there. I'm not going to ask him to sit. Why? Because if I'm talking to somebody, I know my dog is a little anxious, especially around strangers. Chances are that person is going to be frontal because they're going to be just standing right in front of me. I know if I ask him to sit, I'm not going to be able to totally keep an eye on him to make sure that he's sitting the entire time. I'm going to let him have a little bit of liberty and stand there on a loose leash. And he will be just fine. And for me, that's a socialization success because he's not fixated on the stranger. He's not stressed out. He's not anxious. He's respecting everybody's space. And I'm cool with that.
But that's Ruben's protocol.
Right.
There are plenty of people that can put their dog in a down. And they're in the down while you're talking, and then you have to make sure you keep your eyes on the dog and then say, okay, all done, let's go. If you have a young puppy or a new rescue dog, or if you have a dog who's reactive or chasing cars, you gotta fucking keep moving.
Yeah.
Like until you realize what your dog's protocol is.
Right.
You can't have them practicing all this shitty behavior all the time. That's the thing too. Like we watch our dogs just partake in this shitty behavior and we don't offer them an alternative. Like, no, don't jump on the counter. Here, go on your bed. No, don't chase the car. Look up at me. No, don't react to that dog from far away. Let me make some distance. When you start looking at me, buddy, I'm going to click that look up and feed it. I like the clicker. I mean, I get it. Say yes, whatever. But I just like the clicker.
Oh my God. I
yes just get mad at it
because it's more convenient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone,
oh wow.
Yes.
Really great point, Lori. It's like, how many different ways can you say yes?
Yes.
I don't know, a million? Like,
I just like the clicker because I can't sometimes, like, we're enough of a fairy princess sometimes when we're asking the dog to come to us. That's a good boy, come. That's my jam more than yes. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my God, just click it. And it's like such a clear sign. Click and feed. Like make the sound with your mouth. Go ahead. If you don't want to use the clicker, you just have to find a really calm marker. And nothing's better than a click. Click. Yes, you did the right thing. And feed. Today we had a super reactive dog. Yes, he uses a prong collar. Did I have his mother beat him up on the prong? No. We made a lot of distance. We made sure that the dog was able to look at his mom. We had to hide behind the house at one point, get some lookups, click and feed that, and then we were able to be in view of the dog. And then we were able to walk towards the dog because he goes, this was like a really cool dog. And the mom, it was my first class with her, she had a really nice relationship. You could tell that her dog loved her in a nice way. Like this dog and this woman, I was like, oh, I feel love between these two. A lot of the times I'll see an owner and they're just frustrated and they don't know what to do, but I saw the love. Anyway, so the dog was able to walk down the way of where the other dog was and then turn and walk back. I considered that a really big win, and so did the mom. We kept a nice loose leash. The mom didn't have pressure on the leash the whole time, so the dog probably thought, hey, this chick's not nervous today. I think I'll just look at my mother. And she's providing some nice snacks. So hopefully what we do over time is we fade the food. Thankfully, we have a prong collar so that this woman doesn't get yanked on the ground or hurt herself because she was an older woman.
Right.
Who undoubtedly, when we get older, everything hurts. Just ask me. So we use tools. We all have to use them in the right way. You have to reinforce at the right times. And you have to know if your dog can take pressure. Just don't use... That's why balance training is so nice. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like,
well, I think about it in a way of like, you know, I don't subscribe to any label, but I'm just like, dude, whatever works. That's the way I look at it. I don't shy away from a tool just because I don't use it all the time. if it's the right fit for the right dog. Like one of our clients that has a blind dog can't have a collar on the dog anymore. It's causing too much pressure on his head. Like any collar, like around his neck. So flat collar, prong collar, nothing. So it's like, okay, you can use a harness. This is the pros and cons. He can't use an easy walk harness. Hurts his shoulders. Head halty.
He starts limping.
This and that. It's like, throw it out there. Throw it out there. If you want to try it, I will help you figure out a way to make this a useful tool. And, you know, I'm not, is a head halty something that I use a lot with training clients? Like, no. I don't think that it's an awesome tool. But I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to use that if it could possibly help a dog have a good walk with their owner. You know what I mean? It's that would be stupid to me. And when I see, you know, when I see people kind of poo-poo different ideas or methodologies or tools and this and that, it's like, okay, like you have every right to your opinion, but at the same time, to me, like you have to have the best interest of the dog and the owner in mind when you give that type of advice. And
like the owner doesn't want to walk their dog, but if we use this collar, the owner walks their dog for 3 miles a day and the dog's pretty happy and gets stimulation. I don't know. Are you going to bitch about the collar now? This has made the mom's life completely better. Yep. She's not afraid to walk her dog anymore. I just don't see the problem with that. And if you're not abusing the tool, I don't see a problem with that either. Sometimes a dog just needs one correction, just like we do as people. Yep. How many times have you messed up in your life and you got corrected and you didn't do it again? But if you got away with it, you did it again. That's why we have to catch bad behaviors and not let them practice it. Because if you keep bonusing out and getting away with it, just ask me. If I get away with it, I'm going to do it again. Right. Your dog is going to do the same thing. Stop letting them practice the behavior.
Right. Yeah, like the people that think that punishment isn't science-based, it's not
just right.
Such a joke at this point.
It's not right. It's part of the learning.
But if you just watch like a mother with her puppies, like if the puppy's biting too hard, the mother corrects the puppies. Period. It's not pretty, and the puppies don't bite her teats as hard. I mean, it's just like the most basic thing in the world, and for some reason, it's like. I mean, I know it's a sign of like our culture and our times and everything like that, but it's not scientific. It's just freaking not. It's not the way nature works. It's not the way that humans work. It's just, you know, like let your yes be yes and your no be no, and figure out how to teach the dog those two things in whatever way works for you. But those, like, that's the bottom line. And for me, you know, it's very clear to me in my life when I've done something wrong and I've gotten in trouble for it, right? And not done it again. And there is a way to do that with our dogs without being total jerks or abusive. So I think it's, you know, it's an important conversation to have. Probably could go on and on about that too, but we won't. All right, what else we got on there?
Well, one is, I was going to go over guest screenings, but maybe we'll do that in another podcast.
We'll do that another time, yeah.
So another thing I was thinking about was dog walkers or dog people or dog parents. Pick your dog's shit up.
Oh my God.
Pick it up. We're going to get kicked out of every place from here to the next country if you don't start picking your dog's shit up. We're getting kicked out of parks. You got to pick it up and stop letting your dogs run loose. It's stupid, especially if you're in a neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, I could go on and on about this.
Like, I've been kicked out of a million parks now because you're not picking up your dog shit. And you know what I started doing? Which is repulsive to me. I was cleaning up other dog shit and bringing a huge bag and hanging it on the wall, on the fence, along with a bunch of poop bags. You know what? I got kicked out. The cops came up to me and then told me to go home. I hate it. I have had 3 police officers come up to me various times and I'm like, I'm picking up my dog's stuff. Like, my dogs are completely under control. Dog walkers, if you have all these dogs, I know it's not the dog walkers we've spoke to, but if dog parents don't start cleaning up, like, they're just not going to allow dogs anywhere.
Yeah, this is a huge message because I just saw a survey from Friends of the Fells. The survey was about trail quality and different items, and the majority of the questions were about dogs. the majority of the questions were about dogs. I go into woods every day, and there are dog walkers that bring 10, 12 dogs in between the entire day. Not a single bag of poop comes out with them. Totally unacceptable. Totally. When I bring my dogs into the woods, we go through the gate and they immediately poop and pee. So I pick it up. If we're deep in the park and my dog poops off of the trail, way off the trail, no, I don't pick it up. But that rarely even happens because they go immediately. You're a dog walker. You're a dog walker. This is their first outing of the day. No, the outing that their parents did in the beginning of the day at 6 a.m. in their pajamas where they just let the dog pee doesn't count because they knew you were coming. The dog has not pooped yet. And when you bring them through that gate, the first 100 feet that you have them off of the leash, they're going to poop. And it absolutely makes me lose my mind when I see people walk into the woods with thousands of dollars worth of dogs every day and not give a crap about the environment. Because guess what? If you're a dog walker, you pay nothing to use that land. And you should be treating those woods like a hot girlfriend that you are terrified is going to leave you for the next guy or girl. That is how you should be treating the woods. It is free for your butt to be there.
They're going to start charging us. I'm telling you right now.
It is free for your butt to be there. You let the dogs run through the woods, off of the trails, poop on the trail, pick it up. It's like they're doing it right at the gate. Right at the gate. I just load 3-4 bags, boom, leave them there, carry them out with me. It's not freaking hard. It's not hard when you're bringing... Your whole livelihood is based off of free land that you don't pay for. Free land, and you don't have the decency to at least try when you know they're going to poop and pee immediately when they go. It just like, it makes me die.
I know.
And on top of it.
Oh, she's mad.
On top of it, everybody's complaining, off-leash dogs, off-leash dogs, off-leash dogs. Do you know when I see anybody on the trail, what I do? I call my dogs to me and step aside. So I don't have to put them on a leash. If they're little kids, I do. If they're little kids, I do. If there are other dogs and they're on a leash, I do. All I'm trying to say is anybody that would have a problem with you should never see your dogs acting like dicks because you call them to you when you see other people. Nobody should have a problem with off-leash dogs because if you have your dog off that leash...
They should be trained.
They should be trained.
Sorry.
And what's going to end up happening is we're going to lose it. But guess what? I'm going to still go in the woods with my dogs. You want to know why? Because I'm not going to get into trouble.
We're going to get
because
kicked out.
Because when people see me, I see them from a mile away. You want to know why? I don't have my headphones in. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm paying attention. I hear everything. I can see who's coming, if they're in front of me or behind me. And before they can actually see me, my dogs are under control 100% of the time. And I don't go into the woods with 10 dogs because I can't control 10 dogs. I can't physically, mentally do it. I can't leash 10 dogs if I see a little kid run around the corner. I can't do it. And it's not fair. And like, is it perfect all the time? No, it's not perfect all the time. But guess what? If push came to shove and we get kicked out or there are leash laws, am I going to put my dogs on a leash just because there's leash laws? No, I don't have to. I'll take 2 dogs. I'll make my hike shorter. I'll figure it out. But these people that are making their entire life off of hiking 10 dogs for a half an hour, not picking up a single ounce of poop on their way out, pissing off all the neighbors because they park in front of their mailboxes. Like, I don't know. I do get heated about it because I see it. And it's not just that one spot. It's everywhere. It's like literally everywhere.
I think what it comes down to is that if it continues, they're going to regulate dog trainers as far as certifications. And I know a lot of great dog trainers that aren't I'm part of the certification council for dog trainers. They're going to start to regulate how we handle the woods and like people with multiple dogs or people with dog businesses. We all have our own insurance if something were to happen, but we can't keep shitting where we eat, so to speak. Like, we have to have some sort of respect. And there are people that don't like dogs or are genuinely afraid of them. They should be able to go in the woods and go for a walk and enjoy it and not worry about your dog running up on them. These are just common courtesy things. Every time somebody's bitching on a community neighbors page.
It's always about dogs.
It's always
it's
about
so
dogs.
bad.
And we're blown. Like, if somebody's particularly sensitive about your dog going to the bathroom on their lawn, my God, guys, pick another spot. Like, I walk a lot of dogs too. I make sure that they go on more public property, and I pick it up after. Like, some of it abuts a school or some of it abuts apartments, and I make sure I pick it up. But don't keep testing. Don't keep testing this. Every time somebody hates something or complains about it, they're going to have a board meeting about it. And I really think that, you know, like, stepping on toes like this is going to regulate us more.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So don't do it. So that's like a really touchy subject.
It is a touchy
Leah was
subject
getting
because
upset about it this week. Because
it is a touchy subject because this is how we make our living, right? This is how we make our living. So, you know, there's not a lot of money to be made in dog walking. There isn't. The only way to do it is to walk multiple dogs. The reason why I walk dogs is because I run training classes, we run group classes, we have other things going on. But if I had to solely rely on dog walking as my only way to make money, I probably would have to walk at least 5 dogs a day more than I am right now. And I'm glad that I don't have to do that because I do other things. But the only way for me to do that successfully is you have to walk multiple dogs. But if that's the choice that you are making, you got to figure out, do I shorten my walks? Do I work earlier in the morning? Do I need, figure it out so that you're not overwhelmed and you can make good decisions when you're out there. Because Laurie's absolutely right. These places where we do have the privilege to walk our dog on public lands, dog walkers have the ability to make money without any cost whatsoever, unless you are good enough to, have a dog walking permit, which I do for the fells and other places. It's important to be able to respect the places where you are able to go on public lands and make that money. So I know a little bit of a negative note to end the podcast on. I apologize for that, but it is something I'm passionate about because I use these public lands as well to make a living. And it's important for me to be able to continue to do that because ultimately it benefits the dogs. When dogs are able to be in public, interact with nature, be able to be their true selves, it just makes their life that much better. And I think it would be a real shame to lose that privilege. So please be conscious, be conscientious, and, do your part. All that to say, really appreciate you tuning into the podcast, FitPet Boston Talks. Please leave us a rating and review if you dig what you hear. And shoot me a message on Instagram. You can follow us at FPB_talks. I try to do episodes once or twice a month. Notably, I am busy, so it's difficult for me to sit down with a new person every month, but I try to interview local dog handling professionals, talk about our lives, our dogs, and our careers. I especially like to interview people that are kind of hiding behind in the woodwork. So people that might not have a huge social media following, but they do absolutely quality work. Those are people that I want to talk to because not everybody that has a loudmouth on social media. Not every good trainer has a loudmouth on social media. In fact, I would argue that most really good trainers that are actually training dogs all day aren't on social media very much at all. So I want to talk to those people and connect with them and give them an opportunity to tell their story and share their experience. That is what the podcast is here for. And I hope everybody has a great week. Signing off and see you next time.